When Brandon Johnson took over the city of Chicago, it was a lot of hope for this young black brother. Many people thought he could be no worse than Lori Lightfoot, and boy were they wrong. Brandon Johnson is the worst mayor in the history of Chicago, and he's going into his second year, so they still have about 2.5 more years to go of a lot of the buffoonery. But he ran on a promise to do a few things, but one thing mainly, and that was to not raise property taxes.
Under a Johnson administration, I'm not raising property taxes.
Well, so I'm not going to raise property taxes. That's been the lazy form of governance for a very long time in the city of Chicago and, quite frankly, around the country. We have to make sure that we're not raising revenue off the backs of working people. And that's why I'm the only candidate who's committed to not raising property taxes.
Communities have been hit hard because the property taxes continue to go up. And that's why I'm committed to making sure that we're not raising property taxes to keep families in the city of Chicago.
So in order to actually fix our economy, we have to eliminate the structural deficit. We get to make up to $1 billion of new investments so that we can save lives, the programs that are needed to do that. And we do it without raising property taxes.
Losing those
surveys from former Chicagoans, why'd you leave? They talk about gas taxes and property taxes and cost of living. As mayor, how are you going to keep from leaving?
Yeah, public safety is still a big deal. And that's what's choking the life out of the city of Chicago, literally and figuratively. That's why I've put forth a budget plan, the only person to do that, where we actually eliminate the debt while increasing our critical investments. And we do all of that without raising property taxes.
And he was saying we're going to get a lot of the funding in many different ways, but we want to run a fiscally sound government. We're not going to do that. We are not going to raise property taxes. Then we found out this about Brandon Johnson's administration.
Hi, Pat and Dina. The mayor and his administration only have a few months to address this year's gap, and they're taking dramatic steps. Now, after their visit to Little Village for a ceremony, the mayor provided only a few details about the latest decision. The city is currently facing a nearly $225 million deficit, which is projected to go up to about $1 billion next year. On Monday, the mayor's budget office announced a series of budgetary restrictions, including a hiring freeze. Additionally, the city will impose limits on non-essential travel for employees and will cut overtime in areas outside of public safety.
We don't want to have to cut any services. I made that very clear. You know, I've been an organizer, I've been an elected official, and I know the damage that has been done over the course of bad decisions. But as a city, we have to be prudent and fiscally responsible in this moment. Look, I've already saved the taxpayers $200 million. $200 million. But we have areas of need, not just in community safety, but education.
So we found out that Brandon, in his progressive ideology, just didn't know what to do or know what he was going to do. His chief of staff quit. Then the school board, like 7 of them quit. It's been a disaster, largely because Brandon Johnson doesn't know what he's doing as a leader. And then you had the migrant crisis, right? And the migrant crisis has been causing a lot of issues in the city of Chicago. And so Brandon Johnson would like to take money away from other sectors like healthcare or education or even the CPD, Chicago Police Department, to try to pay for other things like the migrant crisis. And this is what is really stopping the situation in Chicago. But then Brandon Johnson had to come back and tell the truth about his previous lie about property taxes.
This is tough. It is. It is something that I grappled with for weeks and weeks. We didn't make this decision lightly. I directed my budget team to look at all the options at closing this budget gap. And when it came down to either mass layoffs, curbing vital city services, or an increase in property taxes, I would certainly much rather tax the rich. But I did have to make the choice to increase our property taxes. This was the best option that I have at this time. It allows us to move forward in a sustainable way. This is the start of a multi-year process that will finally get Chicago's finances back on track.
So Brandon Johnson is going to raise property taxes. Now, if you guys can already imagine, the city of Chicago is a great city. It's a great economy with a lot of opportunities, but you must remember that it is a city that has a level of crime, especially amongst its west and south side areas. And then also you already have so many companies that have left the Chicago area. And this is what Brother Jamal Green is going to point out.
My colleague here just put out every tax instead of a breathing tax that he wants to institute. We really can't have much more taxes in this city, or people, corporations, businesses are going to leave the city of Chicago.
The fact that no one up here has a budget plan is because they're hiding the ball behind their back. If there's anything, I'm going to tell you the truth.
You know, his plan may not raise property taxes, but it puts a tax on everything else. And the reality of the situation is that taxpayers cannot take it anymore, right? We talked about red light cameras. They need to be eliminated, period. We shouldn't be talking about equitable distribution. They need to be eliminated. We talked about the first thing that we would do is sign an executive order to ban the booting and seizures of vehicles for unpaid parking tickets in the city of Chicago. We got to change these practices and make this city a place where people actually want to live and raise a family. And that's what we're going to need. Kids are being failed each and every day in our public schools, and we must stop it. And we must have more teachers, especially teachers that look like us. Black male teachers. That's your favorite job. I want to get Brandon Johnson back in there. Just not an economics teacher.
Time.
But listen.
Time. Thank you.
We got so much work to do to change our public schools, and we're willing to do it.
Thank you.
Now, beautifully said by the young brother, but I also want to get into this. How would this affect homeowners and renters?
The city government just doesn't seem to have a control on their spending, period.
Miguel Chacon owns rental properties and says tenants, not just owners, will feel the pinch.
Renters will feel it because their rents will go up. Whatever business you go to, their operating expenses are increasing, and so every Chicagoan is going to feel it.
The announcement came during Mayor Johnson's budget address. The $300 million property tax increase would raise the average residential tax bill nearly 5%, the largest increase in nearly a decade.
It is something that I grappled with for weeks and weeks. We didn't make this decision lightly.
The mayor says the increase will prevent thousands of layoffs, mostly at the police and fire departments. But he has proposed cutting hundreds of vacant CPD positions.
That's not where you cut. Let's look at these other departments that are less essential. And let's look at not frontline workers, not union represented workers, managers, political appointees.
So as you saw, once you start to get out there and raise rents on people, and property taxes, they have to raise rents, okay? Rents are higher, home sales are higher. People are already paying a lot of taxes in Chicago trying to make up for the funding that Brandon Johnson, as a mayor, just dropped the ball on his staff. And it's evident that Chicago is being ran into the ground by another progressive Democrat. You don't really understand how budgets work. You're just spending all out of the budget. You're not using the taxpayers' money to do the right thing. And it's just all bad. And I hate to say this, but it just goes to show you, and shout out to a lot of the blacks that's been saying this, but skin folk don't really mean kinfolk. You have people who just want to be in power to do nothing but to just destroy. And my heart goes out to the great citizens of the city of Chicago, knowing that they work hard. Chicago is not cheap. It costs money. And then you have somebody like this who's looking for every reason to put them back in a bad situation. So guys, what do you think? It's your boy O'Shea Duke Jackson, back with the episode of Fair Use. I'm out.